Numa Pompilius, the legendary second king of Rome, succeeded Romulus after a one-year interregnum. Who was he and how did he transform Rome from a warlike city into a peaceful and religious one? What changes occurred during his reign and what happened to him at the end of his life? This is Rome Revisited. Join us as we explore the ancient Roman Empire, from Romulus to Constantine XI. According to Roman tradition, Numa Pompilius was born on the same day as the founding of Rome, April 21, 753 BC. He was of Sabine origin, a people who lived in the central Apennines and who had a close relationship with the Romans. His father was Pomponius, a noble and wealthy Sabine, while his mother was a daughter of the Sabine king Titus Tatius, who had ruled Rome jointly with Romulus for 5 years. Numa was the youngest of 4 sons and he was educated by a wise man named Pythagoras who taught him philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy. Numa was a pious and virtuous man who lived a simple and austere life while avoiding all luxury and violence. He and his wife Tatia, the only daughter of Titus Tatius, had a daughter named Pompilia. Pompilia later married Numa Marcius, who was the son of the first pontifex Maximus, or chief priest, of Rome. After the death of Romulus in 716 BC, there was a period of confusion and anarchy in Rome. The Senate, which was composed of 100 elders from the 2 main tribes of Rome, the Romans and the Sabines, could not agree on who should be the next king. Some wanted a Roman, others a Sabine, and some even suggested a foreigner. They decided to consult the gods and to choose the king by augury, or the observation of the flight of birds. They sent 10 men, 1 from each of the 10 curi, or wards of the city, to the sacred grove of Quirinus, the god of war, and the deified Romulus, to perform the ritual. There they saw a marvelous sight. A large eagle, the symbol of Jupiter, the king of the gods, flew over the grove and then landed on a branch. The eagle then picked up a shield that belonged to one of the men and carried it away to the sky. The men interpreted this as a sign that the gods wanted them to choose a Sabine as the next king, since the shield belonged to a Sabine named Proculus Julius. They returned to the Senate and reported their vision. The Senate then asked Proculus Julius, who was a friend and relative of Numa, to propose a candidate. Proculus Julius suggested Numa Pompilius, who was widely respected for his wisdom and piety. The Senate agreed and sent an embassy to Numa, who was living in Cures, a Sabine town near Rome, to offer him the crown. At first, Numa refused the offer. He said that he was happy with his life in Cures and that he had no desire to rule a city that was founded by blood and violence. A city that was constantly at war with its neighbors. He said that Rome needed a warrior, not a philosopher, as its king. He also said that he was afraid of the wrath of the gods, who might punish him for taking the place of Romulus, their beloved son. He asked the embassy to leave him alone and to find another candidate. The embassy returned to Rome and told the Senate about Numa's rejection. The Senate was disappointed but not discouraged. They sent another embassy, this time composed of the most distinguished and influential men of Rome, including Proculus Julius, Numa Marcius, and Marcus, the son-in-law of Numa. They also brought with them gifts, honors, and letters from his father, his kinsman, and his teacher Pythagoras, who all urged him to accept the kingship. They told Numa that he was the only one who could bring peace and order to Rome and that he had a duty to serve the gods and the people. They also told him that he had nothing to fear from the gods, who had clearly shown their favor to him by the sign of the eagle and the shield. They appealed to his patriotism, his piety, and his wisdom and begged him to change his mind. Numa was moved by their words and by the wishes of his family and friends. He agreed to become the king of Rome on the condition that the people would ratify his election. The embassy rejoiced and escorted Numa to Rome, where he was welcomed by the Senate as well, the people who confirmed him as their king by a unanimous vote. Numa then began his reign, which lasted for 43 years, from 715 to 672 BC. He was a very different king from Romulus, who had been a warrior and a conqueror. Numa was a peacemaker and a lawgiver who devoted his attention to the internal affairs of Rome and the cultivation of the arts of peace. He reformed the calendar, which had been based on the lunar cycle and had only 10 months, which started in March and ended in December. He added 2 more months, January and February, and adjusted the length of the months to match the solar cycle, making the year 355 days long. He also divided the year into 2 seasons, summer and winter, and assigned different festivals and ceremonies to each month according to agricultural and religious activities. He also established the leap year, which added an extra month every 2 years to correct the discrepancy between the lunar and the solar cycles. Numa also founded many of Rome's religious institutions and introduced new gods and rites to the Roman pantheon. He built the Temple of Janus, the god of beginnings and endings, of gates and doors, and of war and peace, on the Forum, the main square of the city. The temple had 2 doors, one facing east and one facing west, and a statue of Janus with 2 faces, one looking to the past and one to the future. Numa decreed that the doors of the temple should be open in times of war and closed in times of peace to indicate the state of the city. During his reign, the doors were always closed, as Numa maintained peace with all his neighbors and always avoided war. Numa Pompilius died in 673 BC at the age of 80 and was buried on the Janiculum hill near the Temple of Janus. He was mourned by the whole city, and he was remembered as a great king who had made Rome into a prosperous and civilized city. He was also revered as a saint and a hero, and some even considered him to be a god. He was the second of the 7 kings of Rome who ruled the city from its foundation until the establishment of the Republic in the 6th century BC. His story is a mix of history and myth, and it reflects the origins and the values of the Roman civilization. Numa was a peacemaker and a lawgiver, a philosopher and a priest, a man and a god. His legacy lives on, and so could your knowledge about such fascinating pieces of history. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more captivating content about ancient Rome. Dive into the past and keep the spirit of antiquity alive. This is Rome Revisited.